just just calm down now. Just have a moment of silence. Before I start. So today's topic, it's quite difficult topic about depression and how to tackle depression and what I went through and where I am right now. However, before I start to talk about it, I would like to have a quick check on my emotions, because that's what I always do. I always check on my emotions when I have some event or some thing in my life. I need to check on myself. So so obviously I feel fear. I'm scared at the moment. I'm scared because this is my first public speech in front of the people, and I feel fear also because I'll be touching my vulnerability. I'll be touching on something I was ashamed for many years. I'm still not proud out of it, but I'm not ashamed of that anymore. So that's the main feeling. It's fear. I also feel a little bit of sadness. I'm a little bit sad. I'm not sure what the reason is of sadness. It could be down to current state of the world, of the current what's happening on the world. It could be because the topic as well I'll be touching on, but there is a little bit of sadness as well, and I would say there is also a tiny bit of happiness, because what I'm doing right now, I'm breaking my fear, and that it's also kind of like, if I would say that, maybe excitement, but excitement is a kind of like thing of happiness, part of the happiness. But let's break down only on emotions. So if I would put that in percentage, I would say like 60% fear, 20% sadness, 20% happiness. And it's good to have balance in your feelings, in your life. If I would feel only fear, then I wouldn't be able to perform today. Like, actually, I was about to say to Chris a few days back, like, look, man, I can't do it. I cannot do it. But then again, I just realized that would mean my fear won, and that's what I don't want to do it either. I would mean fear won, and I would be disappointed. Maybe not hugely disappointed, but I would be feeling like I'm missing something, which I should, go for. So that's that. Once we got emotions out of the way, I'll be talking about emotions as well later on, not only about depression. I'll be touching a little bit more on the other topics as well, which is connected with depression. Okay, so before we start again, a little bit of disclaimer, and I would like to address the title, why I named the title Depression is My Friend. Because clearly, if you have depression, this is not your friend. It's a terrible thing. If somebody had depression before, he will know what I mean by that. If you got quite strong depression, severe depression, your mind, it's blurred. It's like there is some technical term for it. There is some scientific term for it. I don't know how does it called, but it's like kind of like a fog in your brain. You cannot think straight. It's due to amount of cortisol, the chemical thing which prevents you to think straight, to connecting dots, to you know to even you know, think properly. Like you don't know what you're doing. Basically, it's your mindset grinding some thoughts which you don't need. It's just like it's kind of like a virus in a computer which slowing down whole system, and it's just like you just taken over by that. But the main thing is that big fog, the big cloud in your head. You cannot get rid of it, and the only what you feel is sadness, and anxiety as well. And it's terrible feeling, and it's not easy to get out of it on your own. So why I call that, you know, the depression, my friend. So first of all, depression is that illness, that terrible illness, just won't let you functioning well. But it tells you something. There is something fundamentally wrong with your life, and if you have enough will, you can change that. You can seek for help, or whatever that would be. So everyone's story is different. So I'll just only tell you my example, what I did, how I get out of it. In hope you may find some spark, you may find some way. Okay, wait a minute, maybe I should start to look after myself before the worst happen. So yeah, depression, my friend. No, it's definitely not your friend when you are when you have one. But if not the depression I had, I may not be where I am now, because apparently to get my life much better quality, I had to go to some really extreme states of my mind and of my well-being in my life. So I'm free of depression since like a year. The breakdown happened 2 years ago. I think that was like January 2021, and that happened. Something what happened, it changed my life completely, and I did that kind of like without even knowing that. But I'll get to this point later on. I won't be expand too much at the moment. So yeah, so today's talk will be not only about depression, but also about the ego, especially men's ego. It's kind of like quite prominent, especially in this days and age. What's the connection between meaning of life, of purpose, and man's ego? And again, I'll touch a little bit about emotions too, because emotions are quite strongly connected with um, with depression. So, just generally speaking, what the main reasons which cause depression? Um, so, in my case, and I believe, like in many other cases, it's some internal lefts you keep inside you. Um, that could be some unresolved traumas from your childhood. That could be some emotions you keeping down, you keep inside you because I don't know, for many reasons you don't want to release them. You just block some emotions inside you, and if you block just one emotion, you block everything else. You block every other emotion. Um, um, so that's internal causes for depression, and that internal, you know, causes of your depression can be easily triggered if you got that unsolved by some life events which happened currently or just at your present life, and that will happen to me. Um, so I'll just take it down to just my example. How did it started, or maybe not started? It always been there. It's depression probably been all my life. I was just denied. I was just blocked, and it's going to started to get worse and worse and worse. At some point, I could not function even properly. Um, I won't be going too much into details of my life because that's not important. If you don't want to hear about my life, you just I want to focus mm, on just depression and how and some tools how you can maybe prevent or tackle or change your life completely even if you don't have a depression. And yeah, um, I was fairly successful man. I thought I was at some point of my life. I had fairly good paid work, stable incomes. Um, on the outside, I was happy. I had that mask of happy person. And as I said, I had quite like a satisfying work at some point. Um, but turned out to be an illusion at the end of the day. Um, I was slowly degrading, just getting worse and worse. Um, I'm not sure if you guys maybe seen it's quite a good movie. A friend of mine was recommended me, and I remember I was watching that. I watching that again. I was watched that again a few weeks back, and it's called "Falling Down" with Michael Douglas. So it's a story about some ordinary man. I would recommend this movie. It's really good on many levels. Um, so yeah, it's about the ordinary guy in America in the mid 90s who was let down by society, who lost his purpose, and he started to slowly cracking down, like hour after hour. One day he was like getting nuts uh, because some life events triggered it, and there is a There's a quite interesting scene at the end of the movie when he's being chased by the police officer, and at the end of the day, he had a choice: face a jail or just being shot by the cop. And at the end of the day, it didn't ended up for him well. He was shot, but there is a one sentence he said at the end: "Lettered down by society, lost his life of meaning," and was just said to the policeman. So I am the bad guy here, and it gets me all the time from that movie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will recommend to watch that movie. It's very good. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like my my story just stretched on a longer period of time rather than one day. So yeah, as I said, I had, you know, my ego was quite big because, you know, I was proud kind of myself. Like I had a good job. Um, I was in-house photographer for one of the large companies. And I was starting to go into the places. I was like, yeah, this is me. This is my personality. What I do, this is me. This is my purpose in life. This is my life. Like working super hard to be successful. So I bought some cheap flat, very expensive. Well, not maybe very expensive, but was expensive in my standards. Some, you know, flashy sports car. And because, you know, fucking life priorities of a man's ego, right? You have to show that to everyone else you are fucking, you know, boss. How common is that in a man's world? So yeah, on the outside I was good. My mask was perfect, smiling, you know, being happy outside, but totally fucked up inside. Totally fucked with unsolved traumas, with unsolved issues. I was really fucked up with guy on the inside. So that's that. Um, it was slowly started to falling down. Like, you know, my main ego was, or my main purpose was based what I do for a living, and it's just not a good base. So at some point, the budget was cut. I was cut from on location shoots. I was cut from everything, and it was just being tied back where I started, really. And I was just like, fuck, I I have no decision at all. They just can do whatever they want with me. Um, so it was like I was always dependent on somebody because it's easy. You know, at the beginning you are dependent on your parents because you have no choice as a child. You have to trust your parents. But later on, when I remember my parents' care was, you know, that kind of like shield was extended, and they were just like, I was constantly telling I'm not good, I'm not can do on my own. So I was proceed with that feeling on and on. You know, at some point, I thought I never believed in myself. So even if I had a good work, it was like I was lucky. It was just it was just luck, mistake, no glitch. And I gave again to my employer my center of gravity, my center of decisions. Just take it. Um, you'll be paying my taxes. You'll be taking care of everything. Instead of that, I will give you everything all my decisions, everything. And don't get me wrong, it's not bad, to have a stable job, 9 to 5. It's the way how you treat that. If you treat like your whole life, that it's, you start to feel like they can do everything they want, and your life depends on them, and that's what happened really. So yeah, I started to lose my meaning, my purpose. I was starting to doing very stupid things at work, and I was still hiding my depression, even from myself. I was fooling myself all the time. I have no problems. I'm good. I cannot have depression. I'm a man. I'm strong man. I cannot have a depression. I cannot show weakness. Right? Because that cannot happen to me. I'm too strong to have a depression. So I was fooling myself all the time. I was just slippery slope and getting worse and worse with time. It was lasting for a long time. Although I was starting to feeling there is something wrong with me. So yeah, I tried to reach some help at some point at the a few years back. I was lucky, actually. I was lucky because I met Krzysztof, and I met one of my friends, Remigiusz, and he went with me on some workshop to work with emotions, and that was like a workshop in the woodlands with just a group of just a men, and that was like we can openly share in build up space our emotions, because man's world is terrible, it's changing, but I'm 45 years old man. I'm a kind of like an old school guy with values and that kind of like patriarchal words. Men cannot show emotions. That's what I was taught all my life from the very early stage. Don't cry. You shouldn't cry because you're man. So that was that space created just for a man to show something. I couldn't open then. Couldn't open then at all. It was just like this workshop. It's stupid. Although what I did, I booked with the main guy who was running this workshop individual session, and that was a milestone which started to change my life a little bit. So I booked the session, and I didn't know I even have this problem, but I solved that problem with his help. And my problem was unsolved relationship with my dad. My dad was abusive. My dad was he was only could show anger to me and my family. And what happened back then, I forgive him, even though he was dead for many years. So I could not solve this problem. I didn't know how. Then Marcin, the guy who was running the workshop, showed me that, and it was incredible feeling. I was crying like for a long time, and it was like relief. The power of forgiveness is incredible. It really is. And if you do that on your own, there was some role playing. I won't go to the details, but that was amazing experience. Okay. So that's that. That was start of be prepared for what may happen. That event that did not prevent me to have a depression later on. I mean, I already had depression, but it was progressing. It was getting worse and worse. So yeah, I was that was good help for me and a good tool to tackle my later depression and what happened later with me. And given that what happened with me at that workshop, and that was incredible. So yeah, so that was one of the richest, one of the things I was reached to get some help. Also get some help from therapists. I booked some sessions with therapists. But even I knew it's my state. It's getting worse. I said to therapists, "Oh, I'm good. I'm all right. I just wanna just get to know myself a little bit better, maybe." And some kind of like a bullshit. I don't think she even believed me from the start. But we booked sessions, and I couldn't open. I could not get the sessions right because I could not open from even professional stranger person about my issues. So I cut the sessions in a half way. I was just like, look, it's just not working. Although it wasn't wasted time. I was find out quite interesting things from her. Um, so so that was helpful at the end of the day. It wasn't wasted time and money at the end of the day. But yeah, nothing worth really for me, except that milestone, working with emotions and um, working with my trauma. Um, and after that, I cut my sessions. Was like maybe a year, maybe two after workshops. Um, yeah, I was fired from my job. I was doing everything to be fired because I could not live on my terms. My unconscious was doing everything to just be fired. So yeah, I guess asking models for a dating that wasn't good thing, but I did that anyway because I didn't want to stay there. And shit hit the fan, and I was just fired. But when the doors closed behind me, I was feeling relief at that very short moment. I was just like, I will not go back there anymore. I will not go back to the people who don't even understand me. I mean, they knew I have a problem. They clearly knew, but they just washed hands. Like I've never been worked there for 15 years. I've never been built their empire. I was helping to build that empire at the end of the day, and they just washed hands. They knew that I'm not well, but that was all done in the white gloves and just let me go. I don't blame him at the end of the day because I was going for it, but yeah, um, it was very ruthless, kind of like, yeah, capitalism in a full face. So the doors has shut. I felt relief for that very short moment, but my purpose was shattered totally. My ego was shattered. I don't know who I am anymore. I was stripped from everything. I lost my income. I lost my will for life. I was feeling like nobody. Um, so yeah, I was in a very bad shape, in a very sorry state. I even started to planning some suicide, which is for most suicide, I believe, it's not the case of like a quick decision, like something you just do in the moment of the weakness. No, it's kind of like a plan, and how you do it. And it's planned by the days, and it's you think that's a good solution because you're so depressed. Your mind telling you have no choice. So I even made a list. What's made a table. What's is for to end it, and what is for to stay alive. So 4 was obviously the reasons I already said to you. I have no meaning. I lost job because that job was my kind of like achievement of my life, and I did that by the luck. It's not just because I did not. I was such a low self-esteem. I was such a low projection of myself. I thought I'm just lost totally everything. So yeah, I was go for just kill yourself. But against, I was second table was who will feed my cat. Well, that would be easy to solution. I can give my cat to somebody else to take care of. But if you are depressed and you've got that high level of cortisol in your brain, and if you got that blur in your mind that you don't think properly, you just think what's going to happen with my cat. But the most important to stay for, it was my mom, because I knew if I go and end myself, I will destroy her, and I will shorten her life significantly, because I knew my failure, it will be her failure as well. I did not want it to happen that. So my love to another person actually decided I will stay and try to do something about it. And so I did. I did. So what would be your first thing if you are kind of like in a situation you think you have no choice? So what you do first? You probably should reach for some good friends, for somebody who maybe been through things, who may have better wisdom. Probably everyone could have a better wisdom without depression. Obviously, you could see these things differently than you see at the moment. So yeah, I reached for one of my friends, which was Remigiusz at the time, and we started to have a Zoom calls. There was a lockdown. That was a second lockdown in UK. So I was alone in my room for over a year, and that didn't help either. Obviously, the situation of lockdowns also messed me up. So yeah, I reached for that friend, and we started to have a Zoom calls, kind of like a check up. And he did quite clever thing. He said, "Okay, we'll do the Zoom calls, but in a barter situation. So you will be doing some photos for us for the social media, kind of like a started shots of the products. And instead of that, I'll be having Zoom calls with you." And that was a clever thought out, because that gave me some purpose, some focus of doing something. I wasn't good at it because when you're depressed, you thinking you doing shit, and if you thinking you're not doing great job, you're not doing great job. It's just like a double sworded thing. Really, it's kind of like a circle. So that was my first attempt to get a grip on my life, and also by exercise as well. The problem is if you have depression, it's very, very difficult to do any exercise, to even get out of the bed, really. But what I did, I need to pay a bills. I had no income. I was cut out, so I started to start a job as a bicycle courier. I was just riding in the foot. And that extra exercise that gave me that extra grip on my life, but my situation really didn't improve much because, as I mentioned, that's only temporary fixes. It's not fix on your mindset. And one day, it was, I think that was January, end of or middle of the second lockdown. I was lying in my bed. I did not read them for weeks because I couldn't. I was just I had still not willing to leave. Like this temporary fixes didn't cut it. I was still like a guy who didn't know what to do. And I remember one thing, I was doing that all my life. I was bashing myself constantly, just mentally whipping myself. Just fucking moron. You terrible. You messed up. This is all your fault. I was whipping myself. I would actually hurt myself physically if I could at the time as well. And I didn't know why I was doing that. I mean, consciously, it was just terrible. I had anxiety even to go to the store in the daylight, or to the some local store in the fear that somebody recognized me. That's the guy. I was totally insane thinking. But if you're depressed, you're not thinking straight. Um, yeah, I was just like, I thought I'm losing my mind. So another anxiety came out that like I starting to have actually a dementia, or I just keep on forgetting things. I was keep on forgetting where I left my keys, and I was keep on forgetting even names of people I know, because the amount of cortisol in my head was huge still. Um, so yeah, I was bashing myself just constantly, like, you fucking moron, you just terrible, you just did that, and you just wasted your life. And I was just constantly blaming myself for everything. I was so hard on me. And then I was I was lying in my bed. I was cold, wet night and wet day in Glasgow in January. Uh, yeah, I was lifeless, lying in my bed all day long, all night long. Like, I think that last few days. And, and something incredible happened. Um, so I did that unconscious. I don't think I did that consciously. That was like kind of like animalistic, nearly fight for a life. So what I did, I imagined myself lying in that bed. I seen myself from above, from the ceiling. I was like, look at me. I seen that, you know, middle-aged man, scared, lonely, um, sad, and for the first time in my life, for my entire life, I left with some softness instead of constantly bashing myself. It was like I was just said to myself, yeah, you fucked up. You fucked up your life a little bit, but it's not your fault entirely. You did your best at the time you can to solve your problems. You did your best and kind of like embrace myself. At that time, it was like holding my as a child, and all the love I had, I put on myself. And that was game changer. Um, I know this kind of thing exists in that kind of exists in a Buddhist kind of like meditation. I didn't know that back then. It just came out of me, just kind of like organically. But it was the strongest emotion I ever had in my life, the strongest experience. I was like, after that, I just let myself be gentle on me, to embrace myself as, man, it's not your fault entirely. You're not, you're not a bad person. You're not a bad man. You deserve better than this. You deserve better. And I was cry out for maybe half an hour after this. It wasn't even cry out. It was animalistic, like spasm. My whole body was shaking from that emotion. Um, it was something really incredible. And from that moment, from that night, I split my life from what was before and what is now. And it sounds like a simple thing to me right now to do so, but it wasn't back then. It wasn't back then at all. Um, so I remember when I was starting doing with Chris that love and kindness kind of like meditation, and I was furious back, and I was like, I was fairly easy to focus on love to someone or somebody, but when it came to the moment I had to focus on my own love for 10 minutes. So yeah, I was doing that, saying to myself, yeah, you're good, you're fine, you got this, you've got that, you're quite good man, and so on. But it didn't work. I was getting tired from that love and kindness meditation, and I thought, no, this is bullshit. I'm not going to do it again. Um, so the last time when we had meditation with Ed, that was similar, kind of like a love and kindness. I enjoyed that for the first time in my life. I enjoyed that love and kindness meditation. And you know what? Back then, when I was trying that love and kindness with Krzysztof, and I was rejected directly, that's stupid. Instead of reverse the question, the meditation is good, but maybe something wrong with me. But I didn't know back then. I didn't know what's it's deep inside me. I didn't know that until I had to break, like totally collapse, and have that organic not from my mind, but deep down from my body, that feeling, that love I put on myself in the worst moment of my life. And that was game changer, totally game changer. So I made kind of like a system switch. I adjust my mindset by 180 degrees. It was incredible, really. It was like, wow. And it wasn't like, I would lie if I would say the depression just went like that. No, that's not what happened. It wasn't like depression gone by touch by magic wand. That wasn't the case. I think it took me like about a year to recover from that, slowly and gently. But it it was just a game changer for me. And I did that kind of like organically, but I had the tools. I was lucky enough to forgive my dad before, but I never forgive myself. So what I was doing in my entire life, that bashing myself, just beating myself constantly, like not good enough. It was it was repeating my dad's mistakes, really. So what he was doing for himself and what he was doing to me and my family, angry bursts, that kind of like putting you down, physically beating. That was, I was repeating that. And I did not even know it, because you don't know that until you start working on it and you start, you know, to get the truth out. But it's not easy. It's very hurtful. You cannot do that just like that on your own. You need to have a help from outside. You need to find the right people to help you. And I was lucky enough. I found that people in my life, that they give me that spark, search here and maybe and there. Maybe that will help you. Um, and this is why I'm here, telling my story, and in hope I may spark some action from you. If you're not feeling right, if you think you have some unsolved problems, just search some help. So there is our workshops which are the people working with your emotions, with your emotional side, and that's very good ones. Yeah, if you feel you would like to reach for psychotherapists, go for it. But again, you need to be lucky with the right psychotherapist. But yeah, seek for help. Um, and I know a lot of people just have some issues, have some problems, and they try and do that in an easy way. Like, I don't know, for instance, they trying to solve their problems with psychedelic drugs, for instance. That may help and may show you some path. It may help you in some certain cases, but they not solve your problems. There is not easy way to get your life without any back traumas, without. So actually, I was doing some psychedelic drugs when I was depressed, in a quite bad stage as well. And the only what I achieved was mushrooms gave me some relief from the pain. Acid messed me up completely. I thought I found a solution, but that was just delusional. That was just delusion. So There's nothing wrong with that searching if you know what you're doing, but always look for a feedback from the outside world. Always try to reach people who knows better than you, who have a better wisdom, who are smarter than you maybe, or they've been through things. But if you try solve on your own with some psychedelic drugs, and I know in my circle there is that kind of persons, and when telling me that, I'm getting a little bit upset because oh, this is not what will solve your problems. This is your opinion. Try and reach some other opinion. And the best way is actually do it without anything, just on your own with some exercise, with working the emotions, with working professional help, I would say. Because, yeah, psychedelic drugs, yeah, they're good. I don't mind. But it can help you, it can mess you up, it can do whatever they, you just don't know. You just tackle on your luck. And I was lucky too, again, because the right people I found, as I mentioned before, helped me out. And that's the tragedy of my dad. Never be, he never found any people on his way, solved his problem. And he died like that, without solving his problems. Because he was a punching bag as well in his family, and he just put that down to our family line. And I loved him, but we both couldn't open and let love in and solve our problems. And it's quite a sad story, I would say. Mine's happy story. And yeah, I think it's time to end up this speech from myself. If you have any questions, if you want to share something with me, please do. Welcome. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something today. And I just having a little bit of hope. I just put that little spark in you. If you feel it's something not right, to search for the answers, because it's worth it. It's painful because you touch in that kind of like a very, very vulnerable, very painful part of your life, and it triggers you and you don't want to, but this what holds you. You need to force it and search for answers. And this is why also I am here to break my fear, to speak in front of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Radek. It was really great to listen to you, and for sharing the hard feelings. Not hard in a way of being difficult. Yeah, the difficult feelings. I appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Radek, I just want to say thanks. I only heard as much. I for some reason I believed this was at 8 o'clock UK time, so I joined only for the cherry on the top, I would say. It was strong. It was good. I will watch the whole thing, and I might get back to you on a few things anyway. But thanks again.
Thanks, Krzychu, you came over here, because actually I was looking for you. Who was that guy I met at the festival? I was about to reach Krzysiek to find out how I can reach you, because yeah, that kind of like a bold idea is actually struck my curiosity. I was we need to get friends on the Facebook or whatever, just reach somehow. Good you are here. I'm really happy you are here. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. We'll chat.
So nice. The universe connected you.
Maybe it was my fault that you thought it was supposed to be at 8 because I don't remember if you Radek that we changed the hour, yeah, at one point. I don't know, maybe it's my fault, yeah, but thank you very much. I just had a beautiful impression that probably this year I've never spent so much time listening to one person, and it's like very calmly listening to a person speaking and trying to understand their feelings. And thank you for this. This is very, very deep for me, and thank you for sharing the story. And if I can ask you something, because I think that people watching would ask this question too, because what is forgiveness for you?
What is forgiveness? It's
What would
quite
you?
strong.
Yeah, what is the state what you, because you mentioned forgiveness 2 times, and it's at the pinnacle of most of the religions and meditations, and you just get to the best state ever, which is actually forgiveness. Yeah, and most of my, why I'm asking this question, because for most of my life I did not believe in forgiveness, you know, and when I found it myself, I understood what is the difference. But what is the forgiveness that you had for your father and the forgiveness that you had for yourself?
Of course. Yeah, and it's the forgiveness. It has to be something behind it. Like you cannot forgive a bad person, but now the question is, who's bad and who's good? We're not good or bad. We are designed to behave this way. So I forgive my dad because he didn't know how to act differently. He was broken as well, and he was taught the same way. When I was from him. So to understand the reasons why he was a horrible person sometimes to us, but he was also a good person because I know he was a good person. He was abused while beaten. It was like a punching bag for his dad, for my grandfather. But I guess somehow he forgive his dad as well, because he was taking care for many years when the grandfather was unable. He had Alzheimer disease, and my dad was taking care for 10 years for him. So that was kind of like an act of love from his side and forgiveness. But he never forgave himself. So I did that to him because I knew the reasons why he was acting like that. So I just thought, look, old man, it's not your fault. He was role playing with Marcin at the individual session, but that was very strong. He was role playing, and that kind of like a tool that helped me to forgive my dad. It was he also was attached with a very strong emotion, like I'm getting away something, some very heavy stuff I had from my childhood trauma. And that kind of tool let me forgive, that also focus on myself, that not constantly bashing, but look, man, this is not your fault. This is something will happen, and I will forgive you for that. This is not a bad person. You deserve better, and that's why I forgive you. And if that makes sense, I'm not sure it's understandable. It's just to understand the mechanism and reasons to be able to forgive, and that's can be done by role playing and some conversation, yeah, with either person who is able to have an honest conversation, or in my case, that was like, yeah, speaking with my dad, like from the grave, like it was a role playing. I was my dad, and then Marcin was role playing as well. I don't remember exactly how was it, because that was a fairly few good years back, but it was very, very intense emotion attached to that later on. I cry out again, but there was nothing close to that. What happened with me when I project myself above and forgive myself. Yeah. And if I may add, actually, one thing, it's a game changer, because wow, when I see how I was before, I couldn't focus on anything. Now my mind is sharp. I can make easy decisions. I can leave out my mistakes easily. Like, yeah, you've done mistake. It's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal. While a few years back, I was just grinding that constantly, in my mind, and that's the game changer.
Yeah, they say in one forgiveness meditation, they use the mantra, I forgive myself for not understanding. And you just go again and again and again, and when some people show up, also you forgive them for not understanding. So there is not even a question of good and evil, and you just said it about your father, that he did not understand. He played what he was, how he was made, yeah, and
Exactly.
this is the source of the forgiveness, right?
Exactly, because he didn't know either way. I didn't know either way until I start to feel this is something wrong. My dad probably was feeling as well, but he didn't find the right people on his way. I wouldn't do that on my own. It's too hard. You cannot do that on your own. You need to find persons who know the tools, how to get out of you. So my dad is kind of like I see that now is a kind of like a sad story, because he didn't know other way than showing one emotion, which was anger. He didn't know how to show the love, because that's how he was raised as well. And that what actually makes me proud and makes me such a powerful. I just broke that line. I just broke that circle. I'm a completely different man now, and that what makes me actually very I'm empowered. Like I feel like I've got grip on my life as well. Like whatever happened, I'll be fine, and I make better decisions for my life because of that, because of forgiveness and breaking that vicious cycle of my man's lifeline.
Can I also just touch upon one thing, because I don't like this trend online that people with depression, because there is a lot of people with depression, of course, nowadays, yeah, and but I see this trend that they would just say that do not try to advise me, do not try to, and I understand this, yeah, of course, yeah. At some point I also stopped advising people at anything, I never advise people, stop, yeah, only when I'm asked, because I know that when you advise some person who don't want it, you are just making it even worse, right? But what I'm trying to say, yeah, what would you say about your trust? because what I read once was a game changer for me as a person who always want to help somebody, yeah, and I always do it with the best intention that I have, with love, yeah, especially for my friends, yeah, and I stopped advising because I read that the funny thing is that if you advise somebody, the person will only listen to your advice when they trust you. And then I understand, of course, yeah, they just don't trust me. Yeah. What would you say to people with depression, you know, how to actually gain trust? Because what is your impression, that you did not trust anyone before? You know, because I know a lot of people that they will not let people to help them. Yeah. Is it about the trust then?
That's a very good point, Krzysztof. Yeah. I can only have a hope. I don't want to advise. I was just hoping maybe I can give some spark, which is, you know, it's just a video. I'm not really speaking direct to the person, but the truth is, I can't help you. I can't help person with depression. I just can't. Somebody have to try to reach inside himself and seek for help. I only can tell some tools you can use. I can only see. I was close as well. I did not wanted any advice, because it's not only because I was depressed, because also because my immense ego that, you know, prevented to not you know, to not see anything outside. So the Remigiusz was kind of like giving me something, but on the other hand, I was kind of trust him back then. So I was kind of like, yeah, as I said, you need to be lucky in your life to find somebody who will trust you, and to get that thought inside. Okay, maybe this is a method I may go for. It may not work for me, but maybe at least I should try. And yeah, I know what you're coming from, because I had exactly the same situation. I even haven't trust, you know, my psychotherapist. You know, I was telling her lies because I didn't trust her on the beginning, and I was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to open myself and to open to my emotions, because I was so blocked out. So yeah, this is very good question from you, Krzysztof, and I believe there is not as many people to get rid of their traumas and of, you know, of that kind of like be free from your what is actually, you know, what makes you feel bad, because it's a hard work. You know, the depressed person or person with the issues don't want to touch that, you know, so she will reject that. And yeah, that's also that also is related with the trust, and we were saying, I don't want to give you advices. I don't want to give you advices either. I just told my story, and they may not get any effect, but I'm just hoping maybe just a little bit. But yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Can be kind of like a pointless, because as I said, you need to be lucky in your life sometimes to reach the right persons. But there is a more and more workshops. There's a more and more people who went through things and who are, you know, smart people who have a wisdom to lead you. And if you get in the right circle and into right circle with your friends, with open-minded friends, you have a big chance you overcome whatever issue you have. And as I said, people are complicated. This was my case. This was my example. But I tend to believe, especially in the men's line, we are very similar. In fact, I feel all people are the same, men's, women's. We're born the same. We're not different at all. We're all the same. We just copy with reality and with our life differently. But we're born the same, with the same ability to succeed. You know. But yeah, that was a good question. Thanks for that, Chris.
Hi. If I can say something, I just wanted to add one thing about this trust, because I believe the trust in this context depends mostly on the empathy. If you feel that the person actually understands you and can imagine how you feel, you will be more open to trust this person, or maybe even to take an advice from them. But this is for me, this is about empathy. And
Yes, it
second
is.
thing, yeah. And second thing I wanted to say is that I really admire what you did, Radek, because this is really difficult to speak in front of other people about such hard feelings for many reasons, but also because I think we live under a lot of pressure to be happy these days, and this is really something sometimes shameful or uncomfortable, not only because you feel that way, but also you don't want to appear this way. You don't want to be perceived this way. This is something I have a feeling that people often, instead of trying to be supportive to a depressed person, is turning back, because this is not really pleasant to be around such people. And this is really a taboo that requires a lot of courage to speak about, and I think this is really important to open it, because it is around us. Like on the event that we went to, of course it was a really happy occasion and joyful event and so on, but everybody was so happy, and I'm pretty sure that many of people there also face some issues with maybe not depression, but some problems, and being a little down. But we all make this illusion of being perfectly happy all the time, all of us, and this is so not true, and this is so important to speak about it and to support each other in this matter. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaha. Yeah, I mean, empathy is obviously very important, and I think I've got quite plenty of empathy, but no amount of empathy won't help if person don't want to be helped. That should came out of that person as well. Like as Krzysztof said, you cannot force, you cannot give advice. That need to be some kind of like a spark for that person. Yeah, it doesn't need to be strong depression, like a extreme situation like I had. But that has to be a little bit of effort from that person. She needs to feel as well that she wants to be helped. But yeah, as you said, the taboo is still quite high, and yeah, in our society, it's getting better though, because so many people suffer from depression. So many people suffer didn't know even about. Like me, I didn't know because I was rejecting that fact, because my men's ego wasn't ready to admit I've got problem. And it's a funny thing you mentioned that about that, you know, forcing happiness and forcing the feel good. That's the trend in our world, which is true. And I'll tell you what, having just one emotion, it doesn't matter it's anger or happiness or sadness or what was the fourth one? But you know what you mean. What I mean. See, I experience it because now I open. I can easily get in my emotion and get out, and I'm not blocking it. And you know, after Portugal, I had like 3 or 4 weeks of constantly being happy. There was no other emotion. It was just happiness. And at the beginning, that was helping me because I had quite a lot of work. So I need to focus on that. But after 1 week, that like a super long afterglow, it was exhausting. It was tiring. I don't want to be happy anymore. Let's get this end because it's dystopian. It's not right either. So being happy all the time and not having any other emotion almost at all, it's bad. It's like I thought, okay, in fact, my head was suffering because I was on such a high pitch, high level. I was doing constantly something. You know, I want to do everything, exercise, meet with people, go here, go there. It was just all over the place because I was constantly happy. And at some point, my health my body just collapsed basically at some point because it's also devastating being happy all the time. So I just want to point out this because you mentioned that, you know, trend of being just happy. It's not good for you. And that's what being promoted by, you know, by society. It's not healthy, I suppose. So the best thing is have the balance.
Yeah,
you know,
true
have a
happiness
balance.
is unhealthy.
Yeah. So the best way have a balance, just have a little bit of happiness, have a little bit of sadness, anger as well. I know how to utilize my anger now. Before I had like anger bursts in the most unexpected moment because I was hidden that. Now I feel that emotion coming in and I getting out in some maybe even productive way. Even anger or just forget about something which doesn't doing me well, which doesn't serve me well. So I can just use anger just to cut this out and just leave this on the side and not thinking about it anymore. Yeah, be attached with your feelings. It's also very powerful tool.
Can I tell one thing, because it's as in many such meetings like we have, the best things are actually the discussion. Yeah, we can discuss and ask the question, answer, and have some threads. And I've got a good news. Yeah, don't be too happy.
It's not good.
I've got good news, because our friend Nathaniel, you probably seen him on the meeting of those core Wickham One meeting. There is a new moon actually this Monday, and he wants to start off this circle of sharing circle, this new moon, which is Monday. We can do basically something like this. The sharing is gonna be shorter sharing, of course. Everybody will have like 10 10 minutes, yeah, but this is something what we are doing right now. So if you are up for something like this, we invite you, and I invite you in the name of Nathaniel, who will be the master of that ceremony. And yeah, and one thing more, because I would like to continue on that topic of empathy and trust. Yeah, because of course, empathy. When you talk with anyone, empathy is in the foundation of this nonviolent communication, and you need to have it. Yeah, but what comes if the person just don't believe in your empathy? What I was saying, that I don't like this trend of people being depressed and posting on Facebook things like that, and I think it's very damaging. That do not advise me, you will never understand how I feel. It's really, it's very counterproductive, and it's priming myself, if I post something like that, that people do not understand me. I read a statistic, and in United States, I don't know about the statistic in other countries. I know that in United States, 40% of people have at least one depression. How is it called? Depressive
Episode.
episode, yes. 40% of people. So yes, people can understand you much. So that's the thing. That's what I don't like. It's like, nobody will understand me. Do not ever advise me, you know. And so this is blocking already, because there are a lot of people who can share some stories of yours. Yeah, maybe that's the trust that I was asking about. What do you think about it?
The problem is people don't understand themselves even. You know, I can't understand somebody going through. And you know what I can do about it? It's just straight away rejection. And to me, it's a signal like I can't help this person. And you know, what can I do?
I actually disagree, because sometimes help is not actually giving advice or I don't know, any kind of a guidance. Sometimes help is just being with this person, just simple being.
Yeah,
And
that is true.
so you can like in this case, you can do this. Like you know, like we are now talking very general, so probably each particular case is a bit different. And it is hard to help a person who is rejecting you, but it still doesn't mean that there is nothing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can always try. And again, as you said, we just very generally speaking. So it all depends also on the relation between me and that person. And you know, it's so many topics. It's really hard to judge. But yeah, there is some cases where a person don't want to be helped. So what can you do? You can just count on that. Eventually she will find, because I didn't want to help either. Like, yeah, I was rejecting help as well.
But you actually wanted to be helped. You were rejecting it, but you actually, or am I wrong?
Well, yeah, deep inside, yes, but you know,
You just
it's
didn't see yourself. What kind of help would you like to accept?
yeah, exactly. I guess so. Yeah, I knew there is something wrong with me, and as I said, I was lucky to find the right persons on my path. And if not the tools I was given in my lifetime, I'm not sure I would tackle my my state of mind. But yeah, I mean, again, if there is sometimes cases you cannot help, you just, and you have to accept it at the end of the day, because first of all, you don't want to waste too much energy. I'm sorry, I'm maybe being selfish now, maybe not being very empathetic, but sometimes you have to let it go. I mean, what can you do? And as Krzysztof said, you cannot force anything. So I know few persons who are closed, who were just like, put some heavy curtains, and they've been, they just basically get away from community, cut the contacts, and they just, they are on some medicaments, to just, release the pain, and they're just existing like that. And what can you do? I mean, you cannot force person to open and to seek uh, uh, some help. If the person don't want to be helped, you cannot do much. If somebody choose the path to go to the dark side, and they functioning well because they blocked themselves, they blocked completely. And if somebody is blocked completely, you cannot help. That person need to be willing to get a little bit of open, at least. So yeah, sometimes there's a lost cases, and you have to accept it. That's it. No amount of your empathy and no amount of your energy will do that person a favor. And in fact, it will drain your energy from the mindset of that person, because that negativity will drain your kind of like energy. If you go too deep, if you try to help her, no matter of what, and sometimes it's just a lost case.
Yeah, I see that before before you, Radek, started to talk, we got to that point that sometimes we really need to force something, and the conscience about that, I think, is something that we should share with everybody. That we should be conscious that if we feel something that is not good, or we feel something bad happening to ourselves, we have to force ourselves to look. And this is probably the message that could be passed to those that are not very well emotionally. You cannot just be there and wait for for something to happen. You have to stand up and do something. That's the message probably we should pass to those that have problems, with the emotions and with the depressions.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree. And people dealing with their own shit in a different ways. Some ways like drowning in alcohol, drowning in drugs as well. Many other things just block feelings. I'm pretty sure alcoholics or any addiction, it has its source in something which hurts you, and you're trying to block it by doing that. Luckily, I never had any addiction problem, so maybe that also, I consider myself as a lucky man to not escape from my problems to block by some overdosing stuff.
Yeah. Actually, I have remembered when you were speaking, when sometimes of course, we had the conversation at home and with friends about the depression, and my point of view was always like, it's kind of difficult for me. It was difficult for me to understand what depression really is, because I was always conscious that the force that I myself have the force to stand up. But of course, I was down very often. I had the bad situation in my life. We are human, happens to all of us. But I think that's what was my strong in this path was, I knew that whatever would happen, even if it lasts a week or month, I will find the force to stand up, and that was always happening.
It's good for you. Yeah, and we
I'm
all
lucky
humans.
about being conscious about that. Yes, I'm lucky. I
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, exactly. Being conscious about your feelings and what's happening with you. As long as you embrace that,
Yes, but,
you'll be
I
fine.
know I'm thinking about this. Yeah, I know.
And I'm human as well. You know, I'm not. I don't think I'll be having depression because there was that system switch, that mindset switch. Like was like I feel like I was upgraded my mind by the new software. It just feels that way. But it doesn't mean I will not break at some point again. But it will be much more easier to tackle that for me than it was before. So given that, I feel like yeah, I'll be fine for the rest of my life. It's just like it makes me so grateful and so happy, and even grateful that I've been kicked out of my work and I had that depression, because if I wouldn't have that, if I wouldn't find the tools, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I'm grateful.
I am happy for you too.
I'm happy for you too as well, that you have a tools to tackle that your bad mood or bad feelings. It's very powerful tool.
Yes.
Anyone else? So Krzysztof, you are the main boss of this meeting, so we can decide what we can do further.
It
Okay.
depends if he's still here, because sometimes he's just, he's getting disconnected in the trailer.
Yeah, one more time, thank you very much, and thank you guys, and to whoever is watching. Just remember that Radek is also part of our Telegram group, and if you trust him, just ask him, right? And yeah, please come to the New Moon sharing circle if you are interested, and thank you very much one more time, Radek. It was very, very deep, and yes, I appreciate it as everybody. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I'll also thank you for coming up and listening to me. One more thing, Krzysztof, I'm not the part of Telegram yet, but I promise I will download this app and I finally get this done. I had so much things goes on in my life. Another app and another communicator that was too much for me, because I'm handling my business on WhatsApp. I'm handling my conversations on how was it called, that Facebook communicator, whatever it is, I forgot. But you know what I mean? So it's just like another app. It was like, but I promise I will do that. If not tonight, then yeah, maybe tomorrow. Procrastination. I'll do that tomorrow. So I'll do that. I promise.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye bye.
And
Thank
stay
you.
strong.
Bye bye. Same.
Yeah,
Very good.
you too. Bye.
Take care, everyone.